Today's guest is Collis, a coach, cancer survivor, and self described emotional baggage handler whose journey spans addiction, illness, and radical rethinking of the stories that we carry. After 15 years of alcohol and cocaine use, Dallas lost nearly everything: his house, his marriage, his health. But he found freedom not through a diagnosis or a program, but through a realization that the stories we believe can destroy us or they can heal us.
Dallas, I want to begin just with what life looked like at its most overwhelming before story mind, before healing, when everything was pretty much crashing down.
Well, I married a woman who had equal amounts of emotional baggage, anger, and addiction. So we were, in the garden together, growing like two ugly weeds. So, it's a horror story. It's a tragic life that we can get into, and we hold on to it. There's some security in our pain, I think, that I got through it today, I can do it again tomorrow. And that's sort of a discipline in a strange sense that we can battle it and keep in it. Even though at the same time, it's like I always tell a story driving up to the liquor store and the voice in my head going, yeah, don't go in there. I'm getting out of my car. And the voice going, you don't need to do this. And opening this all the way through into the liquor store, grab the bottle. And the voice is going, you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. And I think it's so funny now to look at it and see that struggle that you're in and you can't seem to break it. It's just got you, And I would
Now,
finish
did you
half
use
that bottle
cocaine and
before I
alcohol
left
at the
the
same
parking lot.
time? What did that look like for those 15 years?
Yeah. Well, my wife and I ran a business together. Many days, wake up at 6 a.m. I never missed a day of work. I always woke up at 6 a.m. But often the first thing I did was get into my closet where a bottle of tequila is sitting and have a shot or two just to set the tone, clear my head. That was my coffee. And often it would be do a line right there. If it happened to be any left from the night before, which was not very often. But that was
What
common
kept you
to do that and
functional for
start
that
the
long?
day just like that. I don't know. We have an amazing resilience. Not everyone. I mean, some people, I had friends who would have two drinks and they were a mess, absolute mess. And I could just go to work and function and be at work and have a drink at work and just keep going and for years and years without skipping a beat. But at the same time, the world is coming apart. It's a funny dual sort of life, heckle and jive sort of resemblance of, everything's crashing down. You're lying to yourself. You're in this horrible pain. And the mask, you just grab the next mask, throw it on and go forward, charge. So, I realize not everybody does that. But for me, it was a practice routine. It was just a habit. It
When did
just
it
felt
all
like
start to fall
that's
apart?
how I function. I think the first wake up call was bout of depression. And if you've ever had a bout of depression, it's almost hard to explain to anyone who hasn't because you fall into this empty black hole where every sense of feeling, actual emotional feeling, goes away.
Yeah.
And it is probably the ugliest thing a human being can go through because you don't know what to do. You just have this overwhelm of nothing. It's hard to express other than say it's nothing. And that lasted about 2 weeks and it went away. And so I thought, wow, that's pretty wild, but on we go. I now think that was a wake up call telling me you got to change direction. I'm giving you this warning. And I now think depression is not an illness. It is your nervous system in overload, suppressing everything in your emotional and your feelings right down to the basement. And it's telling you, wake up. So less than a month later, I say I got lucky. I woke up one morning with cancer. Best day of my life, 6 months into the pandemic. And our business is on the rocks because it's been shut down. And that started that year of what I call life collapse. In that year, I go through treatment and surgery and my wife and I split and I lose my house and my business and my family by any measure. I end up alone, broken and suicidal. Exactly 1 year to the day later. So,
Sometimes it takes
it's
that
an amazing
that
moment.
big life event to kind of shake us. How did the cancer diagnosis influence your perspective on addiction and the control you thought you had in your life at the time?
Didn't do anything. Didn't do anything. In retrospect, it did, but not at the time. At the time, it's just holy shit, there's a storm. Hold on to the sides of the boat. That's all it was, right? You're trying to survive it. I turned to fight. I'll be a fighter. I'll fight it. And I'm almost ashamed to say this, and I've never said this before. My cancer was in the throat, my neck, actually. And when you have a lot of radiation on your neck, it burns not only the skin on the outside, it burns the inside. And so if you can imagine the worst sore throat of your life, multiply that by 100 and have it for a month straight. And you know what I was angry about? I wanted a drink. I wanted a drink, and I tried and I couldn't because it burned so badly. I couldn't get it down. And that's what I was angry about right then. That's that's how outrageous we can get to in that position. And as soon as my throat got better, I went back to drinking because the reason for drinking hadn't gone away. Only some of the symptoms from drinking. Cancer was a symptom from drinking, and a symptom from the story mind, and a symptom from all the baggage built up and exposed in my body, which all emotional energy does through the nervous system. Eventually, it comes out in the body, and you get heart disease, you become obese.
Was there a
All
moment
sorts of
that
things.
you knew you couldn't keep surviving the way you were with the drinking and cocaine use?
When I woke up alone and and suicidal, that's when something really powerful happened in that. At the moment, I was seriously planning suicide. And I think when you get to the edge, it's easy. It's not hard. It's not a struggle. You don't feel sick. It becomes clear. This is the way out. This is a simple way out. But something happened in that I sat down one night, seriously planning, and I had the same feeling come over me as depression. That same empty nothing. And right then, my mind went, hold it a second. This isn't suicide. This is depression. And what an instant trigger. It took me back to my life of collapse to depression. And it made me say, forget the suicide. You're just in depression. You've just got to face all this shit. It's time. That's the signal. So weirdly, the idea of suicide just evaporated. It didn't make any sense. I think what all this did was make me more rational, more logical thinking, more direct. And I've always been in the clouds, the story. I'm just floating along, dealing with the storms, fighting, but not really being rational and
We were
logical,
talking
not really looking at
before we started
anything.
the show, and I was telling you that you really remind me of Albert Ellis, and that's kind of one of his the main thing with rational emotive behavior therapy is disputing irrational beliefs and replacing them with rational. So you have activating events, and from those activating events, we develop irrational beliefs. And because of those irrational beliefs, we have these consequences like emotional consequences or behaviors that we do, and then we dispute those with rational. And
I got to
he's
check this
really
guy out.
neat. And you also kind of mentioned in some of your videos of the emotional baggage of these events that we experience. Can you tell us a little bit more about what emotional baggage is and how you're an emotional baggage handler?
Well, that goes to the beginning. When I usually start talking with people, I say, we need to start at the destination at the beginning. And I say, can we agree on something? Can we agree that every human being alive, 8 billion of us today, are all seeking the exact same destination? Happiness, a quiet heart, a clear mind, just a happy being. Would you guys agree that in the end, that's really what every human being wants in life?
Most definitely.
So I always say, so what's stopping us? What's in the way? Why don't we just be that human being? And what's in the way is the story. Each of you are a story. If I meet you, I was going to say at a cocktail party, if I meet you at a recovery program, okay, and I say, nice to meet you guys. Tell me something about your selves. Who do you tell me about? Do you tell me about the human being, or do you tell me the story about that human being? And that's what we do. We say the story. We tell each other our past, our history, what has happened to us, what's going on, everything that's gone through our lives, everything we've learned. And most of our story is written by other people, by outside events, not by us. And so I go through emotional and physical abuse and bullying. And I come out of my childhood knowing I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm a failure. And I'm angry about it. I'm pissed off. And that anger leads, I think, to every human being's first addiction: blame. We get addicted to saying, school did this to me. The church did this to me. My friends, my family, Boy Scouts did this to me. Summer camp counselors did this to me. And then my boss did this to me. My wife, my kids, the economy, the bloody weather will blame. And some people go their whole lives blame. That is the baggage they're carrying, and they're blaming the world for having to carry that weight, that pain, that suffering. And for everyone, it's a different level. But we learn right away something helps to keep it away, defending us. And that's addiction. Addiction is in every life, everyone, whether you consider healthy or not, they have an addiction. It could be food, it could be porn, it could be a new love life, it can be, it doesn't matter, going to the gym. I know guys at the gym that I train, and they're addicted to the gym, and their lives are a wreck, and they use it to try and defend themselves from the pain. And so that's what led into, of course, alcohol, because blame wasn't enough for me. It's like its power wore off. And when I found alcohol, it was like a turbo juice. Woohoo! Everything's great. We're having fun. I'm out with friends. No pain at all. Life is good. What could go wrong?
How do you guide others to putting down that emotional baggage? Looking at that pain.
Well, one of the great things that happened to me at the end of getting out of the suicidal ideation, I'm standing one evening cutting vegetables for dinner. In the background is a podcast on. The man on the podcast is talking about consciousness, and he says this phrase, "Show me yesterday." That was it. Now, understand, gentlemen, our entire lives are based on yesterday. Everything we know comes from our history, from all our yesterdays. Built together allows us to be sitting here now talking. It's not, we don't do in the moment, really. We live in the history, and we bring it into this moment. So if my whole life is yesterday, and I let my yesterdays, my belief in them, my belief in the story, my total belief in that being me, that led me to almost killing myself and almost dying, destroying everything in my life. How is it possible? Show me yesterday. I couldn't go pick it up. It's not a tangible item. I can show it to you. Look here's yesterday, guys. What do you think? So fundamentally, I had to be rational right then and go, what the hell is yesterday? How could it have this power? It is just a story I believe. You believe things 10 years ago you don't believe today. And you'll believe things in 10 years that you don't believe today. So what's the truth of belief? What is its fundamental quality? It is only what you create the meaning of. I was abused 50 years ago, not today. Why would I have it with me? Why would it be here? Because I picked it up, put it in a bag, and I walked away with it. I'm responsible, not the trauma. It's me that's responsible. We fooled ourselves into thinking that trauma is the cause. Trauma has no meaning until I pick it up, take care of it, embrace it, love it, put it in my bag and keep it with me. Because it becomes me. Because I think that's who I am. Because I've been told, you have been wounded. I was told. I didn't tell myself. Story created by the outside world. Look at 100 years of psychotherapy. Look at what we've done. The greatest minds there are in the area. And it's been a total disaster. There has been no advantage, no step forward, no healing. We've got more people on psychoactive drugs today than ever before in history. We've got more people in talk therapy than ever before in history. We've got more disorders diagnosed than ever before. We've got younger and younger people screaming about their mental illness, many of them holding it up like a badge of honor. We have gone wrong with psychology. We've made a huge mistake. I don't believe there is any mental illness. Well, let me qualify that. Out of the people who are completely at one end of the spectrum, dysfunctional, and are in a hospital and have to be, right? Absolutely. That does exist. But I would say 95% of people that are diagnosed, it's BS. It's not true. They are lost. They are confused. They've got a horrible story. They're carrying a lot of heavy baggage. They don't know how to get it out of it. They don't know how to put those bags down. That's not mental illness. Every human being on the planet has it to some degree. There is only one spectrum, and we are all on it. From complete dysfunction to what we call health. We are somewhere on there, everybody. And I go further and say, I go even this far and say, there is no healing. You cannot heal. I did not heal from alcoholism. I left it. I have a big fight with the whole sobriety community today. I don't think there's such a thing as recovery. My rational mind says, what would I recover? Would I recover the healthy person prior to becoming an alcoholic? I don't want him. He went to alcoholism. So what would I have recovered? I don't recover. I leave it. I put the bag down of alcohol and walk away. Only by one practice, by one way, by not carrying the hurt. I'm not a drinker because I love alcohol. I'm a drinker because I'm in pain. If I get rid of the pain, I have no reason to drink. And that's exactly what happened to me. It ended overnight. I tried for 10 years. You guys know the hell of trying. You guys know the self-lies of trying. Oh, yeah, right after this one. When I finish this, I'm putting it down, I'm done. When this is gone, I'm not going to go buy another one. I tried for 10 years. I went to AA. I went to groups. I tried everything. Didn't work for me. I could not stop. And I knew I was weak. I was broken. I was terrible. What a disaster to beat yourself up for something like this because we're confused about the problem. The problem isn't alcohol. You're not an alcoholic. The problem is the pain you're carrying, and you're medicating to keep the pain away. The medication is not the villain here. The pain is. And we're too focused on the villain being the medication in all sorts of areas. We're focused on the people. You eat too much, it's your own
Not
fault.
the problem, it's the
You drink
solution.
too much, it's your own fault. This
It's not the
blaming of the
problem, it's the
medicating.
solution.
What's that? Yeah.
When one of the things that Ellis said, I just want to see if you agree with it or not. He said that it's not our or it's not the problem, or it's not the event that makes us so upset. It's our perception of that event that makes us so upset. And it sounds a lot like what you're saying. And rational emotive behavior therapy is really good for people that have, like you said, maybe not a mental illness, but they're having some life issues and some irrational thinking. And it's all about rational or rational thinking. Is that something you would agree with?
Absolutely. There is no meaning in life. You name me one thing that has happened to you or you think is meaningful. Tell me what it is. There is no meaning in it. There's no rational ability to have meaning in something. A Lamborghini means nothing to me unless I think it shows my wealth and my image, and then it becomes a meaningful thing. So the rational is you have to place the meaning in whatever happens. You can't hurt my feelings because I don't give you them. But if I think your love is everything to me and it's the meaning, when you take it away, I'm heartbroken. So what happened there? It was me. I created the meaning. There's no meaning in anything. That's up there with everything happens for a reason. What crap. Nothing happens for a reason. Stuff happens. You make the reason. You decide the meaning. That is the amazing control and power each of us has. It's just that it's been covered up by this story. And so we disbelieve the most fundamental things. And society goes way off on a tangent. I stand up in front of a room of 100 people. I say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dallas Collis. I've been badly abused and beaten as a child, terribly traumatized. I've struggled all my life in pain and suffering, and I try to do my best. I've been an alcoholic and I've gotten clean. I'm working hard and I'm standing here today to show other people that they too can show this bravery. Everyone in the audience is clapping. Oh, he's so courageous. Isn't he wonderful? Now, I stand up in front of a room of 100 people and I say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dallas Collis. I have no worries, no concerns, no fears, no insecurities, no regrets, no anxieties. I don't have a problem in my life. Every day of my life, I'm happy. And everybody in the audience goes, what a weirdo. This guy's crazy. That's the society we have built. The sick person stuck in a story mind is normal. The healthy person out of his mind, as I call it, get out of your mind, is the one who seems sick. What is wrong with us? Get out of your mind. I love the adage in the personal development industry today, and it's all about, believe in yourself, discipline, hard work, grind, believe in yourself. And I say to all my people I work with, I go, do not believe in yourself, because the self you believe in is a story that's hurting you. So how would believing harder in this false story be good for you? It doesn't. It's a vicious circle. That's why 95% of people don't reach their goals, don't achieve their dreams, because they're doing this dance. They've got a foundation of the house that's full of cracks, but they're painting the walls and putting in new windows and getting new appliances and going, look at me, I'm achieving, I'm working hard, I'm reaching my goals. And the house keeps falling down. What's wrong? You haven't touched the story. You're just trying to apply management, control, coping mechanisms, personal, development in a way that I can manage my emotions and my
How do
feelings and
we
control.
how do we rewrite
Doesn't
that
work.
story, or
The
how did you
reality is
rewrite
underneath.
yours?
Well, the reason I'm called a 16-hour coach is it came to me that there was no way I was going to get back on my feet by trying to remake my life, rewire my brain, all these silly concepts. I didn't want to remake what I had, just like I didn't like the idea of recovery anymore, because that's the past. I do not want to recover or remake something I used to have. I realized that, but there's no way to try to suddenly create a new life overnight. It's impossible. It's too big for your brain to comprehend.
You're a
When
different
you've
person
gone
now.
that low, when you've fallen as far as I had gone. Yeah. So I said, well, I just have to do something. AA taught me one thing that I give them all the credit for, that I took away and I use every moment. That's why I'm a 16-hour coach. What did it teach us? One day at a time. That is the most fundamental, powerful thing we've got. So I said, well, if a day is 24 hours and I sleep 8 hours, I have 16 hours to function. So in 16 hours, could I go outside for a 30-minute walk or go exercise somehow in this 16 hours? Yeah, I could probably pull that off if I really try. Could I pay attention when I got to the fridge and make sure I ate some good food and not the crap I used to live on? Yeah, I could probably do that. Could I phone somebody I love and tell them I love them? Could I offer my help? Could I put in 4 or 5 hours of really focused work on keeping a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food in my belly? Yeah, I could probably pull that off in one day. Could I live one day and do all this stuff? Is that possible? Yeah, I realized I could. And I wake up the next morning, I get a do-over. What a gift. We only ever live one day. You can't live tomorrow. You can't live yesterday. You will always be just in 16 hours. Your entire life happens in 16 hours. So all you have to do is do it for 16 hours. If you keep that mentality and that's your routine, I'm telling you, life becomes easy. Because when you're paying attention, when the three of us are right here, listening and speaking to each other, our minds do not have the ability to remember yesterday or to imagine tomorrow. They don't have that ability.
We're in the moment.
So if you can stay in the moment, pay attention, you don't go to those places. That's where your baggage is. The baggage is dropped because you've left. You don't heal it. You don't fix it. You've left it. Why? Because you're not spending time in memory or imagination. You're here. The only place you've ever been or ever will be is right here. The problem is 75% of our day we're sleepwalking. It's Thursday night. The two of you are driving home from work individually. You're on your way home from work. It's been a tough day. You're tired as hell. You walk into the house, you slap the keys down on the counter, and all of a sudden you go, I don't remember driving. I don't remember a thing about that drive. How is this possible? Because we live 75% of our lives subconsciously in routine, in habit, in stuff we've done for years over and over until we don't have to think about it. And so we're living in the imagination of doing it before and we do it again. And the memories, we're not paying attention. And the amazing thing is most of us don't die while we're driving that car, sound asleep. But it tells us something. What did you two have for breakfast on September 2012?
A Pop-Tart.
Tell me right now. It was an event. It happened. It was real. It took place. Why don't you remember it? Because just like the 75% of the sleepwalking we do in a day, 75% of your memories cannot be held. The brain does not work that way. You have to sit down in your movie theater, your story mind, and watch your movie played over and over and over. And the only scenes it plays are the dramatic ones. That's why the trauma's there, the pain is there. And yes, good memories, but I guarantee you, I tell each of you 10 great things about yourselves, and I criticize you about one thing, and tonight you're at home going,
That's
that
what we'll
guy
remember.
said blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. We are hardwired for the negative bullshit. And I think it's because of childbirth. Every baby comes out of the womb like the same looking way.
And pain.
That's trauma. Instant fear and insecurity is hardwired into us, and our systems search for it.
How would you apply story mind to people who've never questioned their thoughts or behaviors before?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the this is the point of trying to transcend that story. One of the things I'm doing most now with people is having them use their cell phone and record themselves video, their own biography, their story,
I like that.
as if they were telling their best friend.
Mm.
Best friend says, so tell me about your life story. And I tell them every morning when you wake up, right in bed if you have to, I don't care, record your biography. And every evening when you get into bed, watch it back. You do this for a month. Takes a lot of effort. But what happens is we cannot remember perfectly anything in our life because our memory is reimagined now. Something happened 50 years ago. I can only reimagine it now. I can't go back into the past. And so every time we do it, every time we play the movie, there are little differences, little glitches. It's like the Matrix, something goes wrong because we cannot remember perfectly. We are deluded into thinking we know our past. And when you do this exercise of telling your story and replaying it, over a month, you will begin to see little problems in your story. You will tell the story differently. And then I'll sit down with people and go, let's look at the story on day 1 and the story on day 30. It's hysterically funny. It's like, Uncle Ben's fish story. The fish gets bigger every time he tells the story. The story gets more dramatic. Everything's more inflated. We do that with our memories. A little thing we think was big, and every time we retell it, it's bigger and bigger and bigger and more dramatic. This is our connection to the story. Why can people get emotional and bring up tears watching a movie? Why is that possible? Because rationally, it's a movie. It's not real, and yet you can get emotional because we are hardwired in the story. Hollywood is you. It is just another movie, and you are living a movie. Look into a newborn baby's face after it's been weighed and measured and wrapped in a warm towel and put on mom's chest. Look into that face then, and all anyone in this world can see is love, beauty, and happiness. That's it. There's no story, no name, no experience, just a human being. What we all are. We are hard right there. 3 months ago, my mother died. 2 hours before she died, I looked into her face. What did I see? I saw love and beauty, and I had happiness in my heart because I see that. The start of life and the end of life, we come to that place, the real us. In between is this movie, this story, this storm of activity that we've created. And society does it the minute you start crawling. It tells you to achieve. Watch, Joshua's gonna walk soon. Look, he's going to grade 1. Oh, look, he's graduating. He's bought his first car. Oh, he's getting married. Oh, he's got a house. He's having children. Isn't he successful? It's this constant push outward. I call it externalitis, is the disease.
Externalitis.
We think our life is about something out there. We're gonna grow, become, achieve. There is nothing to achieve. There is nothing to become or to grow toward. You already won. You are the baby's face and my mother dying face. That is real life. You are this beauty, love, and happiness. We all are. We just get trapped in the
one of my
drama.
clients. So I'm a therapist in prison, and he had been in prison for decades. We were having a group, and we were going around, and I was asking them all, "Who are you?" And most of the people in the group just looked at me like a deer in headlights. Well, we got around to him, and he said, "Well, if you don't know who you are, somebody's going to walk up to you and tell you who you are, and that's who you'll be." And so that's kind of what I hear when you're talking about the story mind, is how the media, the world, society gives us this message of, hey, here you go, this is who you are. And it sounds like with story mind, the objective is to rewrite that narrative. Is that on point? Or
Well, when I started, I said, yeah, your job is to win the Oscar for best editing in a major motion picture because you are the major motion picture. And you need to look at that story and edit it. Why do I have to carry a belief? I don't. There's nothing about a belief that's real. I met a drinking buddy just maybe a year ago. And he was a guy I drank with almost every day. I would meet at the bar after work. And he went down in flames all the way to the street, homeless, fentanyl, crack, you name it. Just a classic image. And I just figured he had died. Lost touch with him. I went through my stuff. I came out the other side. A year ago, as I say, I'm in a coffee shop and he walks in. I was just stunned. He just looked normal, everyday man. I had to look 10 times to realize it was him. I'm like, Greg, come here, sit down. Oh my God, tell me your story. And he said, well, he goes, I don't really remember much about the streets, but I got hooked into some church group and I went to these meetings and, Jesus Christ saved me. And we talked about it and it becomes really clear in the rational understanding of the story mind. He, like me, believed a story that took him to the bottom and almost killed him. So what happened? Did God save him? Did religion and Jesus Christ save him? No, a better story saved him. He went to a new story. He believed it. It lifted him up and saved him. There's a distinction here. Everything we believe is part of a story we believe in. And when you look at these and examine these beliefs, you realize you have these choices. You can edit a past story or end the story completely. Why do you need a story? Tell me the law that says every human being has to have a history and a story. That's the construct that we've done in society. We've made history a class in school, a degree you can get. People post things about history online all the time. What does it matter? Who cares about some caveman? Who cares about Egyptian pyramids were built? Who cares? It doesn't have any meaning. We don't need history. We are only ever right here. Our job is to be this human being right here, just to take care of each other. And this collective story mind, the collective, is the world's story. It is fear and insecurity from birth. People in Ukraine killing each other with the Russians, slaughtering each other. They're not doing that outside of a story of fear and insecurity. You're wrong. I'm right. You're bad. I'm good. And I can be whipped into a fervor that makes me pick up a gun and shoot you just because of a goddamn story.
How do you, so just to play devil's advocate here and ask a different type of question, how, I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying, how do you distinguish between someone's story and maybe someone's truth?
Someone says something, your reaction comes from knowledge from yesterday. It instantly, in your mind, the deceiver, the ego, jumps up and says, that person said that, it means this. You've been attacked. They're trying to hurt you. And you respond back, maybe aggressively. That's your story. You're acting in your story. You're not being at attention. Because if you were paying attention and rational, you'd go, Mary's having a real bad day. She's lashing out. I don't need to take that. Nothing to do with me. Smile, nod your head, and walk away. And we could all do that. It's just we practiced every day of our life being in that story, in memory and imagination, where all the pain and all the problems stem. You don't have a problem in your life today. You may have a difficult situation, but that's just something for you to deal with or not. We make it a problem when the imagination or the memories say, I'm being hurt, or I'm upset, I'm angry. That doesn't exist unless you go there. No one has a problem, just situations. And we have the power to deal with a situation. Problems are hell to deal with. Because this problem's been bad, this week's been so bad, I just need a drink. I just need 2 large pizzas. I just need some pornography, some sex, a new woman. I need some medication.
A rationalization.
That's how hard problems are. That's how hard memory and imagination
There's
is.
there's some clips I'm going to send you that I think you're really going to enjoy because you've said some things that kind of seem controversial, but they make all the sense in the world. One of the things is that there's no recovery. Because you change, you're a different person. Like there is no going back. You become hopefully a better version of yourself. Some of the other things like the here and now, that is such a big thing in a certain type of therapy, Gestalt therapy, Frederick Pearls, is focusing on the here and now, because being present in the moment, like you said, like there is time to that you want to work through those things and process them. But there's also the here and now, and that's where you want to be. You want to be present. Another thing you said that the how the insecurity and inferiority, like when you're born, that's kind of when that's established. That's a big thing. Alfred Adler is that's instilled in us very, very early, and I think you would enjoy some of these. They're psychotherapists, but it is true what you're saying on a very deeper level of we have this narrative, we have these thoughts, these feelings, and they're there. And until we address them, we pull them out, we look at them and decide, okay, do I still believe these things? Is this working for me? Or
Does it support me? Does it hurt me? That's the what if, to be able to what if your story. What if my memory isn't as clear as I think it is? What if I'm not sure? What if it isn't true? What if I didn't believe it? These are powerful things, just to question that story, because most people can't question their
I
story.
was looking at
Who would I be without a story?
I was looking at a comic, and
It's
it was
my
these two guys.
identity.
They were standing in a warehouse, and it was this guy's warehouse, and he had all these boxes. They were stacked up to the ceiling. And the friend looks at him. He said, "What's in all these boxes?" He said, "Well, it's everything my father gave me. I'm going to go through all these boxes and look through them, and some of it I'm going to keep, and some of it I'm going to let go of." And kind of like what you're saying, that's the job that we all have. That's the work we all have, is to sit down, look at what we've been given, whether it was from an experience we had, whether it was from our family, or whether it was a message that we got from society, the world, media, uh, and decide whether or not we still believe it to be true.
One of the biggest growth industries in North America in the last decade has been storage lockers. Right? People are buying more room to put their crap
that they don't use, that we don't use. You got to store it.
Now understand, all that stuff they're storing is part of their story mind they can't keep in their head. It's memories. Oh, I'm keeping that because one day I might use it again. Oh, I can't throw this out. That's part of your story, part of your attachment, part of that externalitis, things that you think are you, that become you. You know, remember the fires in LA back in January? One evening, I'm watching the news from LA, and it was a woman reporter. Behind her is that burned out, bombed, war-torn looking neighborhood of just black soot. She's with two people. There's a woman about 30 on one side of her and a man about 70 on the other side. Turns out they're father and daughter, and they live 3 blocks apart. They both lost everything. The reporter's talking to the daughter. The daughter is in tears. She's sobbing, and she's saying, I've lost everything. My whole life was there. Everything I own, all my memories, my pictures. I've lost everything. She's sobbing. And then out of the corner of her eye, you can see the reporter notices the man. And the man has a smirk on his face, almost a full smile. And the reporter sees this, and she's just stumped, and she turns and goes, you don't seem to be too upset. And he says, it's just stuff, externalitis. His daughter was fully attached to all her stuff. Her life was in it. Her image was in it. Here he was out of his story mind, just going, just stuff. That's just life. So what? Tomorrow it starts again. Nothing has happened to us that has changed us. We go through crap. We have events. We have things we deal with. But it didn't change me. None of the shit I went through changed me. I'm that same baby and dying mother in the end. All it changed was the story I believed. And we think that's us. So we say, wow, I changed my whole life. Wow, I rebuilt. Wow, I rewired my brain. We play the game that we are something we can change. We don't change. We are always the perfect person. Each of you is the most important person on the planet, bar none. No one comes close. Why would I say that? Because if you weren't here, would there be a planet? Not to you. So how could you not be the most important person alive? And so are the 8 billion other people. It's not a selfish thing. It's an understanding what you are, not who you are. Who you are is a podcaster. Who you are is a plumber, a fireman, a doctor, a lawyer, a father, a brother. That's who you are. That's the story. What you are is just a human being. That's it. Like everybody else. 8 billion people all seeking happiness. I say now it's 8 billion chefs. They're all cooking from the same recipe, but everyone has their dish come out a little different, tastes a little different, looks a little different. And we get confused that everyone's different. Everyone's different. No, we're all the same chefs cooking the same meal. All the movies from Hollywood,
How
in
long
the
have
end, they have the same story. Somebody faces tragedy or trouble and they get over it and they fight and they
how long have
struggle
you
and they
been
win.
working
It's the
with
same
people
story everywhere.
doing this type of coaching? And what keeps you
About
inspired
2
to
years now.
keep doing this work?
Because I wake up every morning laughing. I'm serious. People don't believe me. I spend half my day giggling. I'm just stunned still that I don't need to be remembering or imagining. It doesn't mean you don't have goals, but I don't spend time in the goal. Some people spend their time in the goal, in the future. When I achieve, I'm going to be happy. When I get the house, I'll be happy. When I get the car, when I get the woman, I'll be happy. And they're always living out there in externalitis, that disease. They're not being here. And we all learned it in grade 1, and we forgot it just as fast. The first day of grade 1, what happened? The teacher walked into the front of the class and went, "Attention, class, attention," was the secret to life right there. And we missed it. Pay attention. Be in attention. And you can't be anywhere else. It is so simple. That's why it's so hard. If you're 45 years old, you've spent 45 years being in that story, believing it, being who you are, knowing who you are. So it's really hard to wrap our heads around. It's not saying you're fake. Every time I hear somebody, "Oh, we're living in a simulation," I go, "Yeah, but yesterday morning when I got up, I slammed my toe into a chair leg. Brother, that's no simulation. I was jumping around and swearing and hollering for 10 minutes. That toe went red and started throbbing. Don't tell me it's a simulation." But there is a duality, I think, to life, that we are physically here. We absolutely are. But that is what we have control of, because we don't have to live in this story subconsciously while we're here. We can live actively aware while we're here.
I think it's more difficult now, especially with the ability to have smartphones and social media and smart TVs and just everything that's going on with news and stuff. It's just readily more available, even everywhere you go. Sex sells, anything that can draw your attention. Even the marketing, it can hear you talking on your phone and then it's going to throw ads right up in front of you if you scroll it. Like all that sort of stuff. When you're looking at trying to be present with your family or present with yourself or present just in the moment, it gets really, really difficult. And you have to be, I think, even more intentional than ever of, I'm going to put everything down. I'm going to block everything out. I'm going to focus.
It takes practice. It's not easy. It's not simple in that respect. It takes practice to keep your attention alive and here. But I just saw a video this morning all about super focus. This practice to be so focused you can achieve anything. It's like a superpower. No, it's a natural state. It's just that we don't practice it. So it seems like we need some expert to write a book about how to focus. It's bizarre. We didn't get a book on how to daydream, but that social media, movies, Netflix, that is keeping us daydreaming. It just becomes a default position because we practice it. So it's
As
easy. We
you've
don't need
been
a book
helping
to
other
tell us how to
people
do that.
retell their stories, have you learned anything about yourself?
Yeah, how stunningly we are the same. How unbelievably similar we all are. That we all tell the same story. Oh, yeah, your house is different. Oh, yeah, you fell down harder that day. Oh, yeah, you bled a little more. You drank a little more than me. There's differences. It's that chef producing the meal. We are all telling the same story. And as we said when we started talking today, that destination, just being healthy and happy, that's all we want. The story is so powerful, it makes people a liar. Because the reality is, if you wanted to be that person, that destination you say you want to reach, we even worked 50 years to get to what? Retirement. Why do we want retirement? To get that peace of mind, that happiness. So we're so deluded in the story that we're lying to ourselves, because we can be happy right now while we're working, completely happy. Every big time athlete shows us the way, every single one of them, because when they're functioning at the highest level, they're not thinking about it. They're not focusing on the stroke of the racket, the swing of the club. They're not doing anything like that. They've practiced. They're just having it happen. They're right there in the moment, letting it happen. And they're happy. You don't have to have a big grin on your face to be happy. It means you've got that peace of mind and stillness, because you're not. No athlete is thinking about yesterday or tomorrow while they're performing. No way in the world. They have to be right there. They're razor sharp, but not by some muscle use, by the allowing of themselves just to be there. That is flow. It's almost an effortless effort. And that's the same for all life, for any of us. We can perform in our jobs. Every day you've done the best work of your life on your job. I guarantee if you can find yourself there, you will see that you're in some sort of state of flow. It's just happening. Your job's going. It's fine. And the day goes by like that. And another day, there's Clint doing what? Having a tough day, struggling with people, interpersonal relationships. Why? He's not flowing. He's not at attention. He's in memory and imagination, struggling. The proof is all around us. We express this stuff every day. We're just not being rational and conscious and looking at it. We're just allowing it to happen because it's our routine behavior.
So you kind of moved from survival to service. Now your message is helping others do the same. What's possible when someone finally says, what if?
What are you guys doing right now? You're in service. You're performing a service right now. Why do you do it? Do you hate doing podcasting? Do you dread coming in today, putting on the headphones and talking to some guy about some crap, who knows what? Is that what you think about it? You're doing this because you want to do this. You're doing this because it fulfills something in you. You're doing this because you're getting what you want out of life. You're feeling good. You're sharing stories. You're being a human being, and you're doing it in attention. You are the solution. You're doing it right now. So when you're not doing it, that's the moment you have to be able to say to yourself, what if? What if all this crap I keep getting into my life? Every time I get pissed off with somebody or worry about something I have to face tomorrow, what if that's me falling asleep? What if that's me treading around unconsciously in dreams of yesterday and imaginations about tomorrow? You have to what if yourself, wake yourself up. One of the early things I did for myself was I put sticky notes all over the place. I still got one here behind me on the edge of my big TV screen. And the sticky note says, get off your ass. It's the TV talking to me. It's the TV looking at me and saying, I see you sitting there. You told me you shouldn't sit there. You should wake up and get moving. And that's how I did that. I'd go, oh yeah. And then I took the next step. Do you have your chair? Almost everybody I know has their chair. I call it the magnet. Well, I took my chair out of the living room and put it in a garden shed. So I got up in the morning, walked into the living room and went, oh, there's a hole in the floor. Right, I'm not supposed to sit down. That instantly made me think, okay, wake up, pay attention. You don't go sit down. Look at that TV. It says, get off your ass, pay attention. Then I put a sticky note on my fridge and it says, what's about to go into your mouth, to try and get me to notice it and wake up and pay attention about what I'm going to eat. So I had to practice staying awake. And that's the beginning of that practice, is trying to find out where you're falling asleep. What do you do routinely in the morning that lets you relax, you might call it? It's falling asleep often, daydreaming, drifting around in the past or in the future. Oh, what do I have to do today? My to-do list. Oh my God, what's coming? It's ridiculous. You only have this day we talked about. You know how to do everything. You know how to do it well. You just practice. And the more attention you are in the moment, the easier the practice.
What would you say to someone who feels like maybe their story's a little too broken to change?
I'd say there's no such thing. It's only broken because you believe it's broken. Show me the person standing over you, forcing it to be broken. Show them to me. Show me the handcuffs you're wearing that you can't move. Show me. You have to get There's a real disease of weakness and fragility going on today. And social media has certainly been a big driver of it. In this idea, that this external lightness is so powerful that if you like me, I'm going to be okay. It comes right down to this littlest thing. I need to be seen. I hear this all the time. I need my space. I need people to celebrate me, celebrate my body, celebrate my lifestyle, celebrate my sexuality. Bullshit. You're responsible for you. I'm not here to do anything for you. I can't do anything for you because there's no meaning without you deciding it. At the same time, my love can be shared with you. My appreciation can be shared with you. And physically, I will do what I can to help you and support you in your time of need. But you and your meaning is not determined by me. That is this incredible fragility that we think something out there has to make it right for us. And we've got younger and younger people screaming out for attention because they don't know who they are. They can't figure out this world because it's this big storm going on. And all they're seeing is people standing up going, look how great I am. Look how many likes I have. Look how many people love me. Love yourself. All these therapists love yourself. What the hell is that? You can't love yourself. You're made of love. The reason service is the gift is because that's all you can do is give yourself. And the more you give yourself and stop trying to get something, the happier you become. Every single person in service feels better because of this giving. And we focus on getting all the time, achieving, growing, becoming stronger, faster, smarter. Ridiculous. You already won. You're already here.
How can people connect with you or learn more about your work and coaching, get coaching?
DallasCollis@gmail.com. Done.
Also, I've seen that you have several books. You have the Emotional Baggage Handler, the 16-hour coach, and you have a few others.
Yeah, right behind me here. That first one is Cancer Combat. I wrote that recently out of cancer. And in anger, fighting, discipline, courage, grind, beat this thing.
It's a good motivator.
Yeah. Pure hype and motivation to fight and struggle and win. And to this day, I think that's a positive thing. I mean, I saw people arrive in the cancer clinic and they had already lost. They had predetermined they were going to die. This thing had them. The beast had them by the throat and they were dying. And they did die. And I saw people who arrived and said, hell with this. I'm beating this thing. I'm stronger than this thing. And most of them did live. This power of this belief and story is really incredible. And we have the power to control it. So the next book I did was called The Step System. And that was about breaking things down into tiny little bits and bites because I couldn't do everything. I couldn't even think about everything. So it was just doing that, morning routines. Back then, the evening routine, I believed in these routines. They were going to change my life. I no longer do. I did then. And that's the personal development side that I really walked away from. And then when I started going to the gym and working out a lot, and people would come up and go, oh, what do you do? How do you do it? Do you have your diet? Pretty soon I was training people. And so I wrote this book called Fit 5 Life. And it's physical fitness, food fitness, mental fitness, social fitness, and sleep fitness. If you got those 5 things in order, you're probably doing pretty well. But what happened was, with so many people I'd work with, there was a 6th problem that kept cropping up. And it turned out that was the story. They were working on the mental fitness. They're working on the diet. They're working on getting better sleep and using every technique in the world to try and sleep better, which I think is a joke now too, but another story. But something kept cropping up. And I realized what was cropping up was this foundation I talked about earlier, the story underneath. They were doing all the stuff on top of that foundation to try and make life better and still wasn't working the way they wanted. They weren't getting that fulfillment. And that was the story. So I wrote the last book, the most recent one. I'm working on a new one now. And this is called The Gift is the Present. The gift is the one day, 16 hours. The present is at attention. Be at attention for 16 hours and you will cure every problem you ever thought you had. It's so simple and so damn hard. Welcome to life.
Dichotomy.
Yeah. Sure is. Contradiction. We are at the center of it every day, I think.
Before we close, is there anything you'd like to say directly to those who are listening, especially the ones who are still trying to make sense of their own story?
Examine your story. What if yourself? It's the first place to go. If you can question your story, your identity, it's like you get in front of the mirror at night and take off all your clothes, and women take off their jewelry and their makeup, and you end up with your real basic self. You've stripped away all sorts of identity by taking clothes off and makeup and getting the hair undone, because the real you starts showing up. That's the person you have to talk to and say, what if what I believe? What if these clothes aren't me? What if the makeup isn't me? The hair being done isn't me? What if the muscles aren't me? What if they're just the physical representation? What if my story is really the problem? What if I'm lying? And we're almost all lying. Why does almost every human being, as they age, start to see all the accumulated junk behind them as less and less important to them? Why does that happen? Because we begin to see the truth. The stuff isn't us. The image isn't us. Our fear of what other people will think isn't really us. What if? What if that story?
I like it.
Thank you for your perspective, and you've shown us that recovery isn't always about fighting harder. Sometimes it's about letting go of who we never were. Thank you for listening to Pathways for Recovery.
Really enjoyed it. Like and follow and share if it helps you. It might help someone else too.
Thank you, my brothers. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
your work in doing this.
Sir.